do this.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Bullhucker Podcast. I'm Moose Lundstrom. And with me today...
Oh, sorry.
No, it's cool. It's an old school. This is OG Bullhucker next to me, my man. What's going on, Josh Finley?
I'm good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm awesome to see you, man.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely having you, man. Josh is episode number 3.
3.
I would look at the wall. You're up there.
Yeah, several.
Yeah, you're up there.
I'm a veteran.
But Josh has been back and forth. We were just talking about some of the episodes he's co-hosted before, and he's had You actually, I'm excited for our host today because whenever you're here, the crazy, shitty stories tend to happen, right?
It's one way or another.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
I have a magnet for that stuff. Yep.
Oh, man. And I got to tell you, we have a special guest today, and I say special guest because he comes from a clan that has become a regular on this podcast.
Not the Ku Klux Klan.
Not the Ku Klux Klan.
That's putting us up there.
Steven Kage, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm great. I just want to say thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
This is an honor. I know that my 2 older brothers have already been on here.
Yeah,
I know this is the first time me being on here.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well,
it's a pleasure, and I just really thank you guys.
Oh, thank you, Steven. That's awesome, man. I kind of collect all the cages, right? I didn't realize there was a younger brother.
Hey,
so.
nobody does.
Nobody does?
Like I was telling you guys earlier, I'm the shelter. I'm the one that's the homebody, the one nobody ever saw. So even to this day, when we're out together at a bar or just at a function, my Bobstock, I show up and they're like, "Who's this guy?" And they're like, "Hey, that's our younger brother."
Yeah.
What? You guys have your? Yeah, he's
that's Mini Cage, bro.
That's Mini Cage.
So how are you been doing, man?
Hey, I've been doing great.
Yeah, well, welcome down to the Bullhucker Studios down here in the bowels of the Emporium.
Hey, this is really nice. I like
you.
it. I know when I was watching the last week's podcast for Jerry's, I was checking it out. I was like, man, I'd really like to be down there.
Yeah, it's smaller.
And here I am.
It's smaller than you think, though, right?
Yes.
Everybody says that. It's smaller than you think.
That's the story of my life.
Steven, what do you do for a living, bro?
I work at the Morgan County Sheriff's Office.
You're Popo.
I'm Popo.
Oh, all right.
I am a Popo.
It's even more fun when Popo shows up. Actually, that's kind of a good lead-in. We're not drinking today for the first time. This first cage we haven't drank with, Steve, so, congratulations. But we have a sponsor, a non-paid sponsorship, and I'll let Josh kind of...
Brought to you by Zima. It's something different.
Old school.
Old school.
So, Josh here was, you were cleaning out your fridge.
Yeah, me and the son, the beer fridge died on us the other day, so me and the son were cleaning out the beer fridge the other day so we can move the inside fridge to the outside so we can get a new inside fridge. And I'd realized that I hadn't opened it in a couple of years, I guess. I'd been drinking out of the cooler, I guess. So I opened it up. I had a 2015. I didn't even know the year. I stopped watching the Broncos a few years ago. But 2015 Super Bowl championship Bud Light, still sealed, and Zima, circa somewhere near that time. It was the second release, not the original, but still cool as can be.
It's turning yellow, dude.
Yeah. Well, shush with that, all right? It might have just been that way.
And if you're not familiar with Zima, let's see. I don't want to do the math on this, but if your parents are Generation X, you might have been conceived while your parents were drunk on a fucking Zima.
That's
but
right.
Your mom probably was 4 or 5 Zimas into it when she thought it'd be a good idea to make you. So
it was the time you went to the bar with your dad and left with your mom. Okay.
I just got what he's talking about. Okay, at first I was like, "What's that mean?"
Right,
Steve. That's a sex joke.
Right.
That's a sex joke.
I think so. I was like, I kind of got off guard there for a minute. And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
I always wanted a Nebraska hat, but I don't kind of inbred shit that is.
Hey,
I know you're
that's cutting it there, buddy.
So, hey, if you're new to the podcast, the Bullhucker Podcast, welcome. What we do is we bring on a guest. Today we have Steven Kage, the Mini Cage. Steve's going to tell us 3 stories about his life. Now, here's the kicker. Only 2 of these stories are true. One's either borrowed, made up, or it's an embellished story. At the end of the podcast, Josh Finley and I, the Zima boy, are going to try and figure out which one was some bullshit. So, Steven, are you ready to tell some stories?
I am.
All right, let's do this. You want to read them off, Josh?
I'll read them off. Let's see what we got here. I've got Pop Crackle Cop.
I thought that was going to go a very different way, by the way.
Yeah, I did for a second, too. I was making sure I read that right. Saturday night pool night. Did I read that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And just being a cage. is what we got there. Those are our three choices.
I already know which one I want to hear the most. But I got to tell you, I'm always excited to have law enforcement. You'll see back here, we're pretty big law enforcement supporters here on the Bullhucker podcast.
Heck yeah. I know. It's like I brought my...
Yeah, I always made sure I need to get a firefighter one as well. I'm a big supporter. Being on the city council, we deal with cops a lot, and what you guys go through, it drives you crazy. You know what I mean?
Right.
I always say when you see the videos of people freaking out and the cop clubbing on the side of the road, show the 15 minutes leading up to that.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? When someone's just flat out begging you for it. You know what I mean? So that's here nor there. So, Josh, since it's been forever since you've been here, my man, why don't you pick a story out?
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to go for the middle. I'm going to go for Saturday night pool night.
All
Okay.
right.
That's a good one. So, me and my brother-in-law decided to just have a relaxing, just a Saturday night. One of our friends called us out to the Queens, said, hey, you guys want to play some pool? And then we're like, sure, we're not doing anything. So we got ready, and we ended up going over there and had probably good, maybe 5 or 6 rounds of pool, right?
Nice.
And then just drinking. Then it just turned into club hopping.
Yeah.
So we went from the Queens, we went to the Tap, went back to the Queens, and then all of a sudden we went to the good old Rancho. And I just remember we closed that place down. I mean, it was already midnight and everybody was leaving.
What? This has to be a couple years ago then, yeah?
Oh, it was probably 2008.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just remember we left with a buddy, and he's like, hey, I'm having a house party. And then we're like, all right, cool, let's go over there. And so we ended up going there, and then we walk in, it was this little house, and just chilling. We're like, whoa, just kind of tripped out, but we didn't care. I mean, there was free beer going around, know, and so we're just sitting there just having a good time, just drinking. And then all of a sudden, it just went south. And then all of a sudden, we're like walking out to go, because there was like a big commotion going outside, and we're like, what's going on out here? So we ended up walking out. And then in the midst of walking out, there was these 2 people standing by this SUV. And then we're like, what the hell are they talking about? And he's like, hey, he looks at my brother-in-law and he goes, hey, you want some of this? And my brother-in-law was like, what? And he was like, yeah. He's like, you want some of this? And he's like, sure. And he's like, $300. And he's like, what? He's like, I bet I can get her for free. and then all of a sudden, I just remembered, they just started, getting kind of heated. And all of a sudden, my brother-in-law grabbed him by the head and bounced his head off the driver's side window.
Right.
And it was on. And all of a sudden, I just remember we all went out to the street. And it was like Brawl City, man.
Is this a big dude?
He was a medium-sized guy.
Okay.
He wasn't too
Average?
bad.
Okay.
And my brother-in-law, he's a boxer. He was trained to be a boxer at the time,
Right.
and he's a wrestler.
Yeah.
And really good wrestler to boot. And so we're just sitting there and, just being kids, just letting it go one-on-one. And all of a sudden, I just knew that there was 5 or 6 guys came out of the woodworks, and they were standing there.
Oh shit.
And so I ended up looking at all of them. I'm like, you jump in, you jump in, you jump in, you got me.
Yeah.
And so they're like, no. And so all of a sudden after that, everything was going down. I was just watching it, and then all of a sudden they stop. And then all of a sudden the guy's like, I want a piece of you, bitch. And I was like, what?
He said to you?
Yeah, he's told me.
Oh, yeah.
He stopped and looked at me, and he goes, I want a piece of you. And I was like, well, fucking A.
$300.
And so it goes a long way, I guess. But and so I just remember I took off my glasses, and to boot, I was wearing chanclas. And so it was pretty interesting fighting in chanclas. So I just remember I walked out there, and we just started going at it.
Yeah.
And I just remember I just hit the guy, had him in the headlock. I remember I punched him 3 or 4 times.
Right.
And I heard. And I was like, what the heck is that? And then I kind of let him up, and then all of a sudden just blood just started running from his face. And I was like, I broke this guy's nose.
Oh shit.
And then all of a sudden I was just like, I got zealous, and I was like, I'm just going to pick this guy up and Roman Greco, just throw him, just thought I was Hulk.
Yeah.
And then at that time, he pretty much told me he didn't want no more.
Yeah.
And then he's like, man, he's like, you're a good fighter, man. He's like, here, let me go get you a beer. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, this is weird. And so we're still there. And then all of a sudden, my wife calls. She calls my brother-in-law's phone. And she's like, where are you guys at? Here it is to boot. It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I'm like, we're at this house party. And she's like, you have 5 minutes to get home. And I'm like, holy shit. And she's like, if you're not home in 5 minutes, she goes, you're going to be in the doghouse.
Right.
And so I'm like, I look at my brother-in-law. I was like, dude, we got to get home. And then at that time, a buddy of mine called me, and he's like, where are you guys at? And we're like, we're over at this house and I think it was on 7th Street.
Okay.
So, like over there. I don't know. Do you guys know where the old bread store is in Fort Morgan? Where
I thought it was on 34 and...
It was on Platt and kind of like over there by Ovidio. Okay. So we were in a street, south or no, north of that. And so I told him, I was like, here we are, come get me. I was like, dude, we need to get home. I was like, I need to be home in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, and finally he shows up, and we just jump in the car.
Right.
Or, I should refrain. He shows up. He jumps out of the driver's seat. Here we are. We're drunk. I mean, I'm just like trying to remember what's going on. And then he looks at me and he jumps out of the driver's seat and he goes, you got to drive, bro. And I'm like, why? And he's like, dude, I have a whole bunch of drugs in my trunk. And I'm like, and you want me to drive?
Yeah.
And then he's like, I can't drive. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then the cops have been called. So here's the cops coming. So all of a sudden I remember is that I'm driving, as trying to, how you like try to sober up, and you're just like,
yeah.
The cop drives by, and I'm like, oh shit. And so we're like going, and then all of a sudden we get down the road, and then we're going, and then all of a sudden my brother-in-law's like, I can't handle this. And I'm still en route driving. The back seat door opens up. He jumps out and starts booking it down the alley.
Oh.
And I'm like, I have to be home in 5 minutes.
With all these drugs.
And I'm like...
When you say all these drugs, is it like weed or is it everything?
I don't know. I never opened the trunk.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Probably
So it was just the fact that all these are in there. And I'm like, okay, I'm driving this hot car. And... I just remembered that, man. And then all of a sudden, in the root of that, we're just sitting there. Finally, we got home, and then we ended up getting home, and man, we got ridiculed really bad.
Oh yeah.
We walked in the door, and my sister-in-law was on my case. I just remembered like. Our toenails were all chewed up. My brother-in-law's flannel was all ripped up.
Right.
He was missing buttons, and yeah he was a freaking...
She's like, and I checked the account. What'd you spend $300 on today? What is it?
All these drugs.
I bought you a brick of weed, baby.
I don't even know what's there. They just get all of it. That's all I did.
It was mystery bag day at the drug house. Yeah. Did she tell you to take off your chancla when you got in there and beat you with it?
Oh, man.
Yeah,
she wanted to. It was horrible. Yeah, never. And then, and it was funny because my sister-in-law told me, she goes, look, you got punched. And I was like, I never got punched.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there kind of arguing with her. And I was like, I didn't even get hit. And she goes, you got a goose egg on your...
Oh.
And so I didn't really notice until the next morning. My boys walked in the room, and they looked at me, and they're like, Dad... You look like Rocky Balboa. Because they couldn't say Rocky Balboa. So they're like, you look like Rocky Balboa. And I'm like, what?
Our gardener?
So I ended up walking into the bathroom, and I was like, oh, man. And I had a pretty good...
Oh, I thought you saw the other guy's blood on your shirt.
Oh, I was... The thing is that I had my Nebraska jersey on.
Yeah.
I had a Amon Green or a Mike Rozier.
Mm-hmm.
And... It looked. When I walked in, it looked like I murdered somebody.
Yeah,
it was just drenched in his blood. It was a good thing it wasn't mine,
Holy
but
smokes.
It was his. But I ruined a good Nebraska jersey.
How old are you when this is happening? 2008.
Wow.
20s, though,
Yeah,
right?
probably late 20s, early 30s, yeah.
That's that age, man, where crazy shit happens. And nothing ever good happens at the bar, you know what I mean?
No.
Never, you know. Either you, it's. I worked at a nightclub in Pueblo for years, man. So your story I've seen, I don't know how many times. Dude, people just scrapping it out, and and just we'd shove them out in the parking lot. Just go kill each other out there, not under the awning. You know what I'm saying? So, that's nuts, man. You ever see those dudes again?
You know what? I did.
Really?
I ended up seeing that guy probably like 2 weeks later.
Right.
And he still had 2 black eyes, broken nose.
No
just
shit.
really jacked up.
Did he remember you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's
He might have seen me and said, "Oh man, this guy whipped my ass." He's like, I don't
We
want.
gotta go.
Did you ever see that girl again?
No.
No. $300, huh?
That's pretty pricey.
That's pretty sad. Is what it is.
Cheaper in the long run, probably.
Cheaper.
but-
Yeah.
I always just thought it was crazy. He was pimping out his own girlfriend.
Yeah,
man. I
if it's
was
his girlfriend,
oh
who
my
knows,
God.
man? There's a lot of dirtbag idiots out there, man. You know.
Yep.
What did you think about that one, brother?
I'm on board so far. When I was in high school, I got in a fight. I think it was when you said you were worried about the cops going by. I went to school in Eaton, and I got in a fight there, and that was my best friend. We were fighting over a girl, and I told him, I said, "I'm not going to punch you, dude. This is not worth it. I'm not doing it." I bought my class ring with some jagged edges just for that purpose, and I remember I turned it in, and that's the last thing I remember because he hit me, and he hit me right in the nose, and I was out. Like my friend said, I got up like 4 or 5 times. My nose was just bleeding the whole nine. They said I was trying to go back after him, but I don't remember anything. The next thing I remember, I'm sitting in my mom's office at Agland, which is like 6 blocks away from where I was at Eaton High School. And I walked from the school to her office right by the police station, covered in blood. Middle of the day, nobody said a thing. Nobody stopped me. Nobody pulled me aside. I got to my mom's office and walked in, and she's like, "What happened to you?" I was like, "I don't know." Here I was like, the cops didn't even care, man. He's like, "The guy's covered in blood. Cool, keep going, man. No issues."
Jehovah's Witnesses, they're getting like way aggressive nowadays. Either you're gonna join or you're gonna pay. That's
Right,
it, yeah.
exactly, man.
You said
So-
Rancho Alegre when they had that club over there, right?
Yeah. That was such a sketchy place.
I'll
man.
tell you how sketchy it was. I worked for Budweiser at the time. They used to take, I don't know, man, 3 cases of Bud and probably 6 cases of Bud Light bottles every week. You know what I mean? So it's pretty standard order I go there with, I pull up one day, they're like, "We need 25 Bud and 50 Bud Light." I go, whoa. Oh, okay. So I unload it. They pay it. Fine. I tell my boss, like, I asked them something going on. They said, "Nah, we're just a busy weekend." I said, "Okay, cool." Call my boss, said, "Yeah, I'm going to come by because I need more beer, Next week, same thing. I go there, they bumped it up like 100 cases, man. Like, I'm like, holy shit, right? What's going on here? But I'm happy. I work for commission, so
Right.
fucking A, I don't care what you're doing with it. Turns out what was happening was, at the end of the night, they tell people, like, "You want to take a case of beer home? $50 or whatever they're charging. I don't know, just whatever crate. Because when you're hammered, Steve, and you're gonna pay whatever, right?
Oh yeah, right.
You don't care, right, Josh? I mean,
Right. Yep.
Especially for a case or
Well, you got some buddies. Or,
Yeah.
yeah. That's how you end up with this shit. But you met a girl, something, and you want to keep the party going. So, and they would sell to, all the guys going there, man. So they were just
man.
killing it, and they got busted, I think. So, I went back one day, like, 3
3
buds,
cases.
6 buds. Like sons of bitches.
like we can't do that anymore.
Stupid popo. I was going to buy something nice with all my extra commission money. Some bitches.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that place was pretty sketchy, man. It's hard.
It really was. It was a sketchy place, man. And I just remember that there was another night we were there, and it's pretty bad when when the bouncer or whatever's dealing coke in the bathroom. And it was like, what the hell's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
When I moved to Pueblo, I'm a kid from Brush, Colorado. I was never into drugs. I never ran with that crew. It wasn't my deal, I worked in a nightclub, and I lived over, Pueblo off of Northern and Pine Street. I was in the corner there. And there was a town tavern. Now, this is on the south side of Pueblo. This is the shitty town. I'm from a small town, so it's not that I don't have any fear. I'm an ignorant motherfucker, So I walk across Bessemer Park at night to go to the bar, which my cousin's like, "You're not walking there." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "You're lucky the size you are, dude, because someone hasn't kicked your ass." The reason I bring this story up is I go to the bar, and this is a shit hole, which I don't mind shit holes, the whole, hole in the wall dive bars.
Right.
And I'm tipping the bartender, just kind of bullshit. He tells me, "Hey, you want to do some coke?" And I go, No, I'll take another shot of Yukon Jack. And he's like, deal, buddy. And I was like, okay, well, time to go because I don't know what's happening here. You know what I mean? But,
right, yeah.
But I was asked that for the first time. I remember Steven being so taken back, like, oh, what? I don't do coke. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Look at me. Look how I'm built. Do I look like I'm doing coke? You know what I'm saying?
Right?
As a matter of fact, if I bought it from you and I found out it was actually sugar, I'd actually be happier because I'm a fat guy. Like, it's not sugar.
Damn.
Lose that tooth.
I can't feel my face and my tooth hurts. I don't know, man. It's weird.
Yeah, I have energy. So, all right. Yeah, I like that story too. I hate to say it, that seems like a pretty Cage story. So, you guys like to fight. What are you gonna do?
I guess that's in the blood.
You got Jerry's an older brother, that fucker, you know. So
yeah.
Do you guys ever get to it? You
Me and Jerry? No.
There's quite
Well,
an age difference.
Me and Sherman, though. I mean,
Yeah.
we had our, or should I say, I mean, he's had his,
Yeah.
I guess, the middle brother beating up on the little brother. You know what I mean?
Poor Sherman gets it every which way. That poor guy,
Right? It's just being Sherman. He deserves it.
Yeah, Sherman's my boy. I like Sherman. I'm gonna ask him back. It's been almost 100 episodes, so I'm gonna have to bring Sherman back on here too. So he was. I've known Sherman a very long time. I've known that man. So your brother's a good man. Both
I got some good brothers, man. I mean, I wouldn't ask for any other brothers than that.
Yeah,
they're the greatest.
They're good dudes, except for that Jerry. Yeah, he's
I don't know about
son of a bitch. All right, that was Saturday pool night. So we got two less, just being a cage and pop, crackle, cop. I always have one I like the most. I'm going to save it till last. Let's hear just being a cage.
Okay. That one is pretty interesting. That one, I'm going to have to bust out my...
Knock it out, bro.
My monster here.
Yeah.
This one's a good one.
Yakakui.
So, I just remembered that I know I was in my bedroom, and I just know that's how this started. I just remember Jerry running in, and he looks at me, and he goes, Steve. And I was like, what's up? He's like, come on, let's go. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I just remember he's like, you got to come with me. I just remember I went to the room, and he's pulling out my dad's guns. And I'm like, what is going on here? And he's like, just shut up and grab one. So I was like, okay. So we ended up, I was like, so I just remember I was still in high school.
Right.
Still a youngin'. And I remember we ran out the back door. And then all of a sudden, Jerry said that there was some dude in the alley with a shotgun, or posing to have a shotgun, or some type of weapon. And it was a bunch of us out there just hanging out. And all of a sudden, one of our other buddies kind of ran and grabbed him and started just pummeling him, you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden, we're still out there with the guns because we thought there was going to be more individuals that had them, so we were ready, locked and loaded, ready to rock and roll. And then all of a sudden, I mean, I just remember my mom, she opened, we have a sliding door in the back, and she goes, I called the cops. And I just remember all of us were like, what? And she goes, I called the cops are coming. And at that time, I never seen such a freaking amazing assembling line in my life. It was like all the way to the back door. My mom was standing at the back door like this, and she had all the guns, and she was bringing them back to the house. So by the time the cops got there, I mean, fine act of showing up on time and everything.
Right.
But I just know they showed up, and they were like, everybody, and your hands in the air on the ground. We're like, we don't have nothing. It was this guy over here.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was like the funniest thing ever because my mom like opened the window and she was like, I called the cops are coming. And so at that time we were just like, there you go. But yeah, I mean, that was after all that said was done. I mean, that's why I can say it's just being a cage.
Yeah.
Something always happens crazy and when we're all three together or something happens like that.
Steven, the one in your sock too. The one in your sock too.
You want the one in the hip?
Yeah. I'm missing a Glock. Who's got the goddamn Glock? One of you. Don't let me get my chancla out and kick the shit out of one of you. That's hilarious, man.
Yeah. That's the only. I mean, I know it's a short one, but I mean, that's that was the one that was kind of really memorable to me. Is that just the fact how shit just went south,
right? Or some guy being acting the fool.
Yeah, just being a jackass, and
that's crazy, man. I've never had anything like that happen to me. Josh, have you? Of course, Josh Finley. That's why I bring him something to this guy. He's lived a life, man.
We never had no guns. We had guns obviously on that side, but I had a buddy. When I first moved to Eden, there was an issue with a friend of mine that was from Valley, and so this guy from Valley, where I was from, he was dating this girl from Eaton, and somebody from Eaton had stolen some money out of his car while he was there. So he's like, "I want you to find me this guy." And so I'm first, don't know anybody up there, so I found him. And so him and a couple guys came up, and it was the first time in my life I'd ever seen anybody use nunchucks on somebody.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I ain't lying. Like
successfully used them?
Successfully. Okay. Oh, it was bad. Right. It was real bad. This, I found the guy, told him where he was at. They had me in the car. They left me in the car, and him and his brothers got out. There was him and two brothers. They get out of their car, and they go out, and they find this guy in the middle of the park. And he had him in his back pocket the entire time, and I was like, he's never going to use those. He's not going to use those. They're going to get the money back, whatever. Yeah. Well, there was a 3-on-1. He didn't stand a chance no matter what he did, but something was said, and the nunchucks came out, and he just went around, and he came like this, and he hit him right in the mouth. Ooh. And it busted out. All 4 front teeth just gone, just immediately. And so I'm just sitting in the car. Oh, shit. I've seen some Bruce Lee movies, man. I had never seen that in person, but I was never in the gun side of things. But
that's hilarious.
It could have been.
I always wanted in Pueblo, they had a natural light store, but they always sold like swords in there. Like badass swords. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I always thought to myself, I should pay $200 to buy a badass sword. You break into my house, but if you got a gun, people are probably going to be like, my fat ass comes out in my underwear with a fucking samurai sword, but everyone's going to be like, what is happening here, Oh!
The re-edition of Kill Bill.
It's hilarious, man. Think about that, but motherfucker, why you got a sword?
I'd probably just bring the sword, and then when they looked at me funny, and then I'd pull the gun.
Be like, which one do you want?
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer?
I'm not getting this close anyway,
just
all right?
Swinging around and pull the gun and bam, just like Indiana Jones,
baby.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's hilarious. What do you think about that story, man?
I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know you very well or your family, but I can tell that you guys probably stick together. So.
Yeah. Well, I told you when you came walking in, the first time you met, you walk like Sherman.
You think so?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It's not about it's just how you move. That's like that's a Cage right there. So, except for Jerry, he don't look like because he's probably the milkman's kid. Because you and Sherman look alike, but that guy. And if that's true, I'm sorry, Jerry. I didn't know. He's like, how do you know?
Who's adopted now?
Who's adopted now?
No, that's a pretty Cage story. I've gotten to know Jerry pretty well over the years. We work together now, so a lot of times we're sitting at Leprino just hanging out because we're waiting to get unloaded or whatever. So you get to know people pretty well that way, So,
right.
And like I said, I've known Sherman for since God was a child. So that was I've known him a very long time, man. He's a good man. So all right, we got 2 great ones down. This one I wanted to hear last because when you said Pop, Crackle, Cop, I thought that was going a different
way.
Like,
exactly.
Here we go. Well, welcome to the filthy part of this podcast. So, all right. Pop, Crackle, Cop.
So, this one here, it's about my dad. We used to run a firecrack stand. Or
fireworks
stand.
Yeah.
Firecrack.
Hey, I had some drugs in the truck, man.
Right.
Everything's $300. I don't explain this shit to you.
Fire sale.
I was just thinking about crack. No, but a fireworks stand, and we used to have that every year. That was our extra money that we would do on the summer, and just and he was working, and so we were just running that thing for him, and so it was me, Sherman, and another buddy of ours. And mostly it was him and Sherman that were running it.
Right.
I was just a little snot-nosed little kid, just tagging along, just kind of seeing what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I just remembered that we had one of those old post hole diggers.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of pop bottle rockets. And so to boot, we're on Main Street. We decided to sit there and say, hey, wonder if we put a pop bottle rocket through this thing to see how far it'll go across Main Street and blow up.
Nice.
And so at that time, we were just messing around, just popping other things. And then all of a sudden, we're like, I was the lookout. So I was like, clear. All right. A couple times they would go through and just nothing, you know. And then all of a sudden, we were doing that for maybe good half of the day, just messing around. And then all of a sudden, there was a certain time where we just went, I was supposed to be the lookout.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, clear. At that time, when we had it up, we put it through there, lit it. It went through a Fort Morgan police car. He ended up having his windows down at the time.
Oh, no.
And so it went through the window, got to the passenger side. Boom. Instantly. Just freaking turned around, pulled over, and we were just like, we didn't know what to do. Sherman looks at me and he's like, duck. And his buddy, duck. Act like nobody's here. So we're in the process trying to like shut the things that make it look like nobody was there. But, and, you know, that's what happens when you're kids, you know, young, dumb, and stupid. How
old's everybody?
Sherman was probably like 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I was probably, we're 4 years apart, so 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so that was a crazy one. I just know that
What did the cop do?
He didn't do nothing.
Really?
He just pretty much just, because he knew my dad, so
yeah,
he was like, hey, don't let this happen again.
Yeah, I guess I could see as to where it's a good old boy kind of thing in town. Because usually that thing pops in the back seat. He's probably you're a cop.
We were freaking scared though. That was like the most scary thing. We're like, man, we're gonna go to jail.
Did he pull his revolver or no?
No.
But
it was a constant. It was an instant flipping a bitch though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Good thing there was no cars, you know, coming either way. You know, it was an open street when he flipped a bitch. Man, that was a.
You're lucky to get away with that one, man, because once that cop hears that pop, man, you know what I'm saying? Usually, if you were a bigger city, that revolver probably got pulled. And,
probably.
You know what I'm saying? You're like, Sherman!
It was funny because I did blame it on Sherman. It was like when my dad found out, he's like, who did it? And I was like,
no.
I was sweeping the floor.
Where did you guys get your fireworks from?
We ended up getting them from Cheyenne.
Oh, is that okay.
My dad would make a trip down there and just get a big old.
Did you sell the illegal ones and all that?
Oh
shit?
Yeah. We would do that under the table, but
what M80? What's the next one up from an M80? Is it M100?
I think so.
Is that
M80 was as big as that,
or maybe I don't know.
My little brothers had got a hold of some. My dad. The house is on Mission. Well, it's in. I'm gonna cut that out. It's in Pueblo, across from an old school. So there's a huge parking lot across the street from his house. My little brothers were lighting those in the parking lot. And, you know, you could feel the shockwave from that thing on Dad's porch. It was the craziest thing. I couldn't believe it. Like, how do you guys hold of this shit? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I mean the way it boomed and then you could feel it. And I was like, holy shit! Like, and M80's what of a stick of dynamite?
Like a quarter stick.
It's considered a little small version of it.
Yeah. That's so the Z100 was. If that in the comments below, you can correct me. I'm not sure. I know it was one step higher than an M80, but it was. I was shocked, man. You know,
an M80 will do some damage, man.
Oh man.
Oh dude.
I've seen it literally take a coffee can and just freaking.
Oh, shred it.
Oh yeah.
And just flatten it.
Yeah.
Mailbox. We tore up mailboxes.
How my little brothers are alive is beyond me. Some of the shit they'd play with, I was just like, are you know, you get a death warrant or, you know, they had a potato gun. You ever had a potato gun?
Yes.
Okay, those things are fun as shit.
Yes, those things are awesome.
You know what I mean? But then they like shoot it at each other sometimes, and I'm like, I'm gonna tell Dad. I do the snitch. I'm the oldest one, but one of you's gonna die, and you know, because that thing's fires those potatoes, man. It's.
Well, that was like us back in the day. We used to take those Roman candles.
Yeah, the Roman candle war.
Be like, run, bitch.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Or pop bottle rockets.
Yeah.
I've been hit with one of those. It's those Roman candles, though.
The Roman candles were always the thing where you had to do that. Was that 5 shots or was that 6? Like, you had that moment like, All right, just set it down.
You feeling lucky? You feeling lucky,
Right,
punk?
because there was no rhyme or reason. It didn't have a rhythm of the shot. You
Right.
might get 1 or 2 or 3 in a row, or you might just get 3 seconds delay and then 5. You never knew. So
That was like that same kid that we were with. We ended up having Roman candle and pop bottle rocket wars at his house.
Oh, yeah.
And he was up in the tree one time, and I remember me and his little brother had the Roman candles. He was shooting pop bottle rockets down at us, and we're like, screw this. So we're like, got the Roman candles, and we're like, and I just remember one of us hit him, and then he was all the way up, up in the tree, and freaking hit him. Then all of a sudden he's here,
all the way down. What were you doing climbing in a tree, man? I have tracer fire. You're screwed.
And Roman candles don't. It's impossible to shoot those things straight. It's impossible, man. They go off every direction.
Yeah, but you have several shots.
Yes,
so
yeah,
all correct.
I guess, man. I'm here to tell you, man. It's the things you do when you're younger, man.
Right.
How are you still alive?
right.
You know how many
Right.
times you probably cheated death, Steve?
A lot,
dude.
a lot.
How many times you probably should have met your demise, but through the grace of God,
I look back at it now. I'm like, man, all the crazy shit that. Because I morally grew up with Sherman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the antics me and him got into.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're alive, man.
You know how many stories been told on this podcast where I literally stopped now to tell the guests, like, you realize you're lucky to be here, right? Like,
Yep.
it's crazy. Like for the sheriff's office, what do you do exactly for the sheriff's office?
So I'm not on the road. I'm in the detention center.
Oh, that's even worse.
And that's oh man, it's a day in the life there, man. I have so many stories about that, and
I bet
it's but it's fun,
Patience.
and patience.
you got a lot of patience, man.
And that's something that my wife tells me I don't have. But sorry, babe. I love you. But I wish she was here today. She wanted to come, but some stuff happened to where she wasn't able to make it. But I got to give a shout out to her. Love you, babe. I wish you were here.
What's your wife's name?
Melissa.
What's up, Melissa?
But I can. There's this. I love being in the detention center.
Yeah,
It's just
that's respect there, man. That's a tough job, man. That's
Oh, yeah.
because you get to see people at their best, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when they're having the best day of their life, that's when you get
man.
to see them, right? That's,
yes.
No.
And that's one thing with me. I go in there and I'm like, I try to treat them with fairness and
yeah,
try to be the nice person I can possibly be. But there's times where they're idiots and it pushes you to where you can't be nice anymore.
right.
You know what I mean? Excuse me. But because I always like to put myself in their shoes. You know what I mean? I guess that's the other side of the coin to where it's like, how would I like to be treated if I was in here?
Well,
You know what I mean?
why are you in there though? Also,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So I have a cousin that was a prison guard for years, man. And she would tell me just crazy stories, And
Yeah.
she got to the point where she wasn't nice to any of them. She goes, I just go to work and I don't have relationships with any of them. You step out of line, I'm going to put you back in. That's how,
it's the truth.
yeah, it's tough, man.
And that's why I try to tell everybody, don't go in there. When I'm on the streets, I'm at store and I see people, I'm like, you don't want to be in there.
Yeah,
Especially when you got people that are just doing crazy things, like
right.
with feces and
Yeah.
and yeah.
Well, I talked to the sheriff one day. This has probably been last year and a half ago. I asked him how things going. He goes, "Yeah, it's going cool, man." He goes, "But yeah, just a lot of mental illness nowadays."
Yeah, it's all
dealing with that.
mental health, man.
Yeah, and
That's the main thing that's on a rise.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
there's a lot of times where that people ask me, they're like, "Where do you work?" I'm like, "I work at a mental institution.
yeah.
It's not a detention center anymore. It's a mental institution."
The state hospitals in Pueblo, and they have a whole wing that's work release, right? Like, because they're running out of room to put people. So there was a barback I had who I'd have to drive him to the state hospital and drop him off every night, check him in, because he'd go work release to go work at the bar,
Oh, boy.
And dude, wacky shit. If you go there like on the 4th of July when someone would get to sit on the lawn and watch the fireworks, dude, it's a go to hell laugh thing, but you'll still laugh. It's a fucking
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Crazy seems a little fun at times. You know what I mean? Crazy seems like it's not such a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's taboo to say. But I thought, well, what's that dude worried about? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's not wearing pants right now. Good for you, dude. You know?
And he's holding a pop bottle rocket.
He's holding a pop bottle and $300. That dude's got a plan.
Man, that
He's
guy's
got a plan. Be careful when you swing that $300. Steve, whip your ass.
Oh,
Steve will chunkla that ass, son. All right.
hilarious.
Well, you got one in mind, brother?
I got one I think I picked out, yeah.
I think I do too, but before we do that, we got to rock, paper, scissors. Steve, we rock, paper, scissors to decide which one of us has to go first. Now, there's two different ways of doing it. Did you know that? There's rock, paper, scissors or rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yes.
Which one do you do?
Just rock, paper, scissors.
That's man.
Free pumper, baby.
That's
Yep.
it.
That's all the Cage's eggs. I thought Jerry was a 4-pumper and I was going to shit on him, but he's not. He's a 3-pumper. He's my boy. My boy. Ready?
All right. Oh. Oh, I lost that one.
All right. We got 3 great stories. Pop, Crackle, Cop, Saturday night, pool night, and just being a cage. What are you thinking, brother, man?
Man, I started with the Saturday night pool night,
What's
and
up?
that was the one I was kind of thinking was the Hucker, but after hearing just being a cage, I kind of think that one.
Okay.
Just for the amount of detail, there was a lot less detail in that story. Whether it was a shorter one, maybe I'm completely wrong.
Right.
But the rest of them had a lot more detail, and that was kind of put together to me, it seems. So I'm going to go with just being a cage.
Just being a cage. Well, here's the shitty part. I think you're wrong, and here's why.
Oh no.
Well, I'm going to get there in a second. I think just being a cage is a true story because I hate to say it, but your brother Jerry told me that story already.
There you go.
He was actually afraid to tell it on the podcast. He's like, I don't know if the, what's it called, the statute of limitations or something.
Oh shit.
I was like, don't be a pussy, Jerry. Tell the story. He's like, maybe next time. So it looks like
Well, Jerry, I beat you to it.
it looks like Mini Cage has got the balls here. So I don't know what to tell you. So I think just being a cage is a true story. Sadly enough, it's a true story. Saturday night pool night. I think that one's a true story as well. I'm going to go with Pop, Crackle, Cop. Because I'm not sure that if you'd have shot that at that cop, it would have went. Even if you knew your dad, I think there might have been some issues. It depends on the cop, too.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, there was a few cops in this town that had been like, you know what I mean? They're good old boys, but I don't know. For some reason, that one sticks out to me. So you're going to take Just Being a Cage?
That's what I'm going with. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
And then I'm going to take Pop, Crackle, Cop. But before you flip that over, I do want to say thank you to the Brush Emporium. Thanks for giving us this place to
Yes,
have
for
our
sure.
podcast studio. These guys have been so awesome here, letting us have this down here so we could do this. You know, before them, I used to travel with this. That table right there was how we did the podcast. I would travel, set all this stuff up, but they'd give me this space. And if you haven't been down to the Brush Emporium, what the hell are you waiting for? Come on down here. They have great
Right.
food. Have you had a
Great
chance to
food.
eat here yet?
No, I haven't. But just walking through, I seen that they have a really cool, just a cool setup up there.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
It's a great setup, and all those gifts upstairs you can buy are all local people making the stuff.
Okay.
It's all homemade stuff, all home everything, man. So when you come down here to buy a gift, you're supporting your local people. If they support local talent, that's awesome. They have pizza, ice cream. It's ice cream season, people. Pastas, you name it. Chicken wings here. The garlic pepper are the shit. They're so good. And also, if you notice upstairs in the seating area, if you bring your family in to eat, they have a little shelf over there with all the old school board games.
I did see that. I seen like when I was walking in, I seen the family sitting there.
Yeah. So if you want to come in and have an old school family night, get them away from the PlayStation 5, come on down, kick their ass at some shoots and ladders, right? Come on down to the Brush Emporium, man. They've been so awesome. I have nothing but great things to say. They've been a big supporter of the Bullhucker podcast. So thank you, Brush Emporium, 210 Clayton Street. Please make sure you come down here. Also, if you like this so far, what you've seen, bottom right-hand corner of the screen is our subscribe buttons, a little red dot. It's a small click for you, but a huge click for us, man. So please make sure you check that out. Click that button, and as long as you keep loving it, we'll keep making them, right?
That's it.
All right.
That's it.
All right. So you're taking Just Be the Cage. I am taking Pop, Crackle, Cop. Let's see that board, brother.
So this one's the
lie.
lie.
The lie.
Here it is.
Drum roll.
Saturday pool night.
Let's see it. Son
Oh
of a
my
come on. What's not true about that story?
The drugs in the drugs in the trunk.
Oh, I just had to turn down. Sorry. The drugs in the trunk.
Yes.
Oh, shit. That one slipped right by me, dude. I would have thought that made sense, you know. Although I don't know if you got your brother-in-law, I'd ever love that fucker again. If he left you with 8 pounds of hash and, you know, the hashish.
I mean, financially might be an okay deal.
So Pop Crackle Cop is a true story.
Yes.
That really happened.
That really happened. Yeah, that was
Did he
crazy.
get a free pack of M80s or something at least? Or?
No, he just literally just told us, he's like, you know, you guys are crazy. Don't do this again. I mean, it was a good thing we knew him. We knew we knew him really well, so it was kind of a slap on the wrist for us.
Is he still a cop?
Fortunately, he's not.
No,
he's
he
not.
retired?
He finally retired.
I wonder if I know this guy.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's been on this podcast before. Cause if I'm thinking of the guy, he's a good dude, hell of a good man.
He's hell of a guy. He's hell of a dude, and I love him to death. He's one of the guys I literally got into law enforcement.
Really?
Yeah.
Very nice. I'll have to ask if it's him later, because I have a good buddy. It's a cop down there now. He's a good man. Well, I don't want to rat him out on the podcast. I don't want to be like,
right, yeah.
You can shoot whatever you want to. Apparently, don't give a shit. So,
Bring it.
And Just Me a Cage is a true story.
Yeah.
Jerry told me that story. He wanted to tell that story on the podcast, but he was unsure about it. But that's been how long ago?
Right.
Yeah.
And seeing, I was kind of going back, you know, and I was like, was this one already told before or not? But
No. He was going to. He told me after the first podcast, or at one point in time, he told me, I think after the first podcast, because the first time he did it, we went to the winery because Jerry hooked that up, and man, that got ugly.
Oh no!
As I laughingly say last time, I've never edited so much in my life because it got to the point I don't censor, but I was like, man, Larry, you probably should have said that out loud.
oh no!
Yeah, so it was wild, man. But that's a cool story though. It's a tight family, you know, and
that's something that there was more involved, but you know, it's just the whole fact of leaving some things out. So,
right.
But a lot of that, what I said is, it's true, and it was a scary night, but also it was a fun night. You know, just to be able to know that.
Yeah,
that guy literally got his ass whipped, but
right, and almost dead.
Yeah,
it's hilarious because your brother told that story the same. Word for word the same way, man. So that's wild, man. So you're telling the story. I'm like, no. Okay, I got that one.
Now I get the other side.
You know what's sad is I knew that one was true, and we still both got it wrong. He beat us both.
Hey, man. Well, honestly, that when I first told it, I thought that's it. That's the one.
The pool night.
Yep. And then as soon as we got to the next one, I changed my guard. But yeah,
that's crazy. How long?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, man.
No, that full night one was crazy, man.
Yeah.
So that's why me and my brother-in-law, we can't go hang out anymore.
You don't kick it.
We got, you know, every time we make the joke, we're like, hey, we're gonna go play some pool, and my wife and my sister-in-law are like, no.
Yeah. There's just family members you can't. I have a cousin like that. Well, my cousin's husband. Well, he's not. They're getting divorced, but when the Avs won their first Stanley Cup, my uncle Ed got married that same day. So we're half tanked by the time the game starts. By the time it's done, we're full tanked. Me, my cousin, and her husband at the time. And so we go out drinking in Denver that night, you know, cruising around. She passes out. We take her home. We're in her brand new Dodge. And I tell him, hey, brother, let's go downtown. Let's go downtown Denver. And he's like, fuck you. I'm not that drunk. But it's funny when you have that kind of family because we showed back up. She kind of came around and she was furious. Yeah, we might have still smelled like strip club. I don't know.
Oh man,
you know that has a very distinct smell to it. So we went everywhere that night. But it's always fun to have that kind of family member that you know. It's like you guys are. Do you have that family member?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Who's that?
Well, it'd be my dad, my real dad. Yeah, no, unfortunately we don't talk too much anymore. But it's he was that guy, man.
Yeah,
man. For sure.
That's cool though, man. I love it, brother. I love it. Well, Steven, man, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Was there a story that didn't quite make the list, or no? That you were kind of like shaving them down.
No, not really. You know, I kind of went through with the wife. You know, I kind of took.
Yeah, I got you.
I took Jerry's advice from when I watched last week's, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make the wife get involved in this.
Yeah,
and
that's
help
cool.
me out. So
Yeah, you don't want to sleep on the couch. I mean,
no.
You know Ben Roy, the comic out of Denver?
Oh, yeah.
Have you listened to any of his comedy specials?
Oh, well, yeah. I've done a few shows with him, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got this joke, and it's one of those jokes, it's funny, but it's more true than funny. He's talking about when you're in the middle of the day, you'll take a nap on your couch, and it's so comfortable, man. You can sleep it like a baby, but the minute you have to sleep on it at night, that's the most uncomfortable son of a bitch.
Yep.
it really is. I've been there.
But during the day, you can nap on that thing and have the greatest nap of your life.
Yep.
During the day. Credit Ben Roy. That's his joke, by the way. So
that's funny.
yeah, if you have a chance to check out Ben Roy, all three of his comedy specials they're pretty.
Awesome.
He's a Denver comic. He's pretty legit, man. But hey, Steven, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
brother.
once again, thank you guys for having me. It's been a blast. It's been fun.
It's been fun meeting the third Cage, man.
Yes.
Mini Cage. That's
Mini
might be
Cage.
what the name of this podcast is.
Yeah, that's what they always say. It's like they're like, you're the little one, but you're the biggest one. And I'm like,
yeah. In my family, I'm called Little Larry because my dad's Big Larry.
Okay.
And when they say Little Larry, they're like, "How big's your fucking father, man?" I'm like, Big Larry, I guess. So anyway, man, I want to get out of here. I'm Moose Lundstrom.
Josh Finley.
Hey, we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.